Okay, we're ready to go. So, what I wanted to say is the officers there and everybody, the staff, was all very, very kind to me. All the police officers, with the exception of the one that I had minor stuff, very kind here in Ohio. It's a much different mentality than what I grew accustomed to there since 2007. And I appreciate that a lot. But understand, when we start looking at things with what they call spiritual eyes, how about reality eyes? That there are Satanists, and they really are not favorable for any laws that are supportive for life. They're not in favorable of anything that is for life. Okay, the only reason that life exists here on this earth is because laws are in a fashion and were put there to try to protect innocent people. Unfortunately, there is a lot of manipulation of that continuum, and it's by Satanists who are not for life at all, for anybody. Whether you're in the police force or if you're a citizen of any kind. People, just people in general around the world, okay? And they will use other people's bodies rather than their own to target whatever they want. I can only imagine that a lot of what happens and the police get to witness in their investigations and stuff, I bet you if you track it down, you will find out that a lot of it is induced by the satanic family. And I know it sounds crazy. We got to be careful that we're not targeting the actual physical people. There's more going on than just that, what we see with our eyes. Okay? We got to get to the acknowledgement that we may have a chip inside of our bodies, or they're using other methods that we haven't been taught and groomed into understanding. They can communicate with our thought process, okay? Which means they could give us an artificial acknowledgement of our current present moment, and therefore could use our bodies for all kinds of things. I'm not saying this gives us an excuse to go out and do bad behavior and blame it on that. I don't know how to diagnose as to whether it's you really, or if it's been that your brain was hijacked, kind of like a different person driving your car. Like a police officer changes squad cars on shifts, okay? Sign off the book or sign on or whatever, they get a squad car for the day. Hopefully their favorite, for their reasonings to enjoy their life while they're serving the community, and their own life and desires. But the truth of the matter is, our bodies can also be vehicleized by another person that's unwanted, unsolicited presence. How that's done, I don't know. But we can all figure this out. Somebody on this earth knows about it. Okay, the details of it. I'm sure there's some kind of literature. They like to put things in movies too and rub it in the faces of people. Okay? When I was a little kid, I seen a lot of gruesome stuff in horror movies and stuff that was presented on TV. Understand, whatever is law here in America should also be in movies and television. Your kid, your spouse, nobody should be sitting there brainwashing themselves filled with this stuff. I remember going to see horror movies, for instance, and people that I was with that I cared about, and they were good-hearted people, laughing at gruesome scenes where I was covering my eyes and saying and squeezing up like, I don't know why I came to see this. Okay, it's not funny to see things like that. That would make me do that. Okay, well then I try not to watch it too much. I like a good horror movie too, like the old kind where they didn't actually show the gruesome stuff, but more so or not, it got more and more gruesome and gruesome and gruesome. That Texas Chainsaw Massacre really freaked me out. That's when I stopped that's when I started to lose interest in a lot of movies. That to me was a very haunting film that appeared to be that it could be very real, Be careful of what you are letting your loved ones watch and you are allowing yourself to be exposed to. Think beautiful thoughts, beautiful scenery. Expect that the entertainment industry has to come up a little bit. In fact, a lot. Let them know it. Write Disney. Voice to Disney and the other worldwide distributions. They should not be sharing this stuff on television. And the commercials that they promote should not always be for the ill and the sick, okay? You don't know it, but your brain is being targeted while you're watching that commercial. Then they're beaming stuff on your brain and getting you to lock down and grip on to that. Maybe I have that sickness. No, you don't. Most likely you don't. Some people might, but let's face it, I believe most sicknesses in the human body is inflicted upon. And if you could get your loved one away, I remember meeting somebody and something told me that they weren't really sick. They weren't really in a paralyzed state. There was something causing it. I didn't know if it was a demon. It was probably an electric pulse keeping them there, under a lockdown, into a wheelchair. And if you could get them moved into a safe place, they could probably come back and their health be restored. What do we do about this? I can't do it alone, folks. Okay, so then I also noticed when he showed me the report, we went over it by details. And I explained to him, and I was honest about the Satanist things. And about me being an escort at one time. Very, very kind. Very kind. And I appreciate that. If you ever do see this, anybody on the police force in Dayton, know that I am very thankful that you guys are kind. We're dealing with the situation. It's nothing personal. Okay? I like to be honest rather than lying about stuff. There are Satanists in the world, of the earth. And they can do things that are perceived as very demonic. The true demons of the earth can't get close to any form. It will do things in dark, complete dark. And therefore, it's best for it to channel through other people to get it to do its works. This is how people get bribed off, okay? And then they get used. Their body is kind of like an android, a robot, a humanoid or something. Don't make a deal with Satan. Make it with Jesus Christ. Just believe. There was one or two corrections that needed done, and he assured me that he would take care of it. So thank you. But he had mentioned the actual reasons why it couldn't be put onto the actual report, and the fact that it's much more than just a police station. It gets put into the system in a manner that I guess it would become a little bit more difficult to update that. But I'm here to say there has to be a way to do it. Okay? We get Windows updates. We should be able to, softwares for our computers. We should be able to update simple reports. It's what's best interest for life of the person who is being victimized and for public record. Okay? It is in my entitlement as a human being to know what's going on in my community. Did you know that you can do that on searches? And police stations, municipal counties, are supposed to make it available for you that you can research names and stuff of people to see if they're on any kind of specific watch list or what have you, or for any crimes, A lot of people aren't aware of that. Now, in closure of that, I'm disappointed in the fact, as well as I had a situation happen that I'm going to investigate in front of the apartment building that I live at. I filed a report. They never got back to me. You see, it shouldn't be a one-way track where the victim is always the one reaching out to the police station. The police station should really form a community of people that stay on top of contacting them and have a procedure that if the victim doesn't contact them back, you don't keep on, I guess, what best thing that you can do is just be on standby. But the truth of the matter is, when a victim is victimized, it may take some time for them to heal in a manner that now they can deal with it. I am sick of being the victim in situations, and I even seen my mom, go through some stuff, and the police officers do what they do, and then the person who committed the crime gets off. And then the victim is basically living a life in shame, and that's what Satanists want. They want the victim walking around with their head down, okay? I was brutalized. I am the bad one here. Just like the prostitute who is not really a prostitute, she's the bad one now, and then she has a low way of thinking, and it leads to suicide in a lot of cases, okay? It's not the policeman's fault, but their lack of awareness that this is not proper. They are not prostitutes. If we get into the Holy Bible and that was our guide through life, we'd realize that everybody's a prostitute that goes against their heart's desires. Their heart's desires are going to be for the life of all, because that's what we've been created for as humans, to have a healthy relationship with God, okay? That's what the Bible says. A lot of people don't believe in Jesus Christ because they don't understand it, because we have piss poor teachers in the Christian community that are teaching bullshit, okay? I just went to one of the most boring services in my life, with the exception of it was interesting because it was unique and set apart from anything I witnessed before when going to church. I went to one of the most boring but very intimate by the end of the service services, and I will continue to go to church services to worship because I love Jesus. But I'll be the one to testify that there's not enough intelligence speaking in front of masses of people. And the people aren't aware that they're being attacked by demonic forces while they're in the church, okay? To manipulate their thought process. The Satanists will listen to your dream or to your prayers. While you're speaking, they know your thoughts anyway. They know the details about your life. Then they try to manipulate you for their purposes. Very corrupted. I'm not saying the Christian community, I'm saying the Satanist in general. Now, once you can get past accepting that that is true, okay, because we don't want to believe this stuff. No, it's very true, okay? You don't want to be taken off your true heart's desires. We're here to fulfill our own heart's desires, okay? Not be a servant to other people's desires of any kind. What I want to say in closing is I have realized, and this is one of the reasons I thought that I wanted to live in a bigger city that was actually, established in a manner that it would be beneficial for life. Like I was thinking Philadelphia a little bit there for the longest time. I want to live in the biggest city within the state, within the outskirts at least. I love Dayton for many, many, many reasons. And the longer I'm here, the more I fall in love with it. Especially because I really love the people like Paul David Bach, that was a songwriter in the local community who passed away recently. For the moments we shared together were very, very valuable to me. It kept me alive. Our relationship was what the relationship was, but I really, really, really loved him. I listened to his music all the time. I'm looking to sing a couple of his songs in the years to come. I sing them at home now, but I'm looking to actually record one or two of them. I'm looking forward to sharing them in the years to come too. I really love Paul David Bach's music. I listen to it all the time. My music and his music. And another gentleman by the name of Paul Corson from Las Vegas that I met. I listen to his music to this day, and I hope that I can do one of his songs years from now. I would double check with him, I guess you could say. And he's in a whole nother country, as I hope he's doing all right. And I hope that he's really there because his heart's desire is to be there. Because it could be painful to find out if he were to be completely honest as to whether or not he wanted to be there. If he didn't want to be there and he was there anyway. What I've learned about, especially when you do music, the first thing that Satanists try to do is remove you from the entire country. They want who they want to be acknowledged in the community because they have made their own deals, and rather make a few deals with a few lively people than to go around making deals with all the people who have life inside of them. They try to get me to move out of the country. They try to get you to uproot and relocate. Often they have you go scurry out to Hollywood or Los Angeles. They do it through mental manipulation, and they bring people to you. When I came out here, they were trying to get me and persuade me to move to Yellow Springs. I don't need to live in Yellow Springs. I can live wherever my heart's desires. I'm an American, okay? I'm free. I'm a child of God, okay? They don't have the right or entitlement to tell Tracilyn where to live. Because you're trans or you're LGBTQ, whatever, you're queer, you're gay, you're lesbian, you're really a human being, okay? And it's just that we haven't been taught right about identity and personal sexuality, gender variances within our mental status. And then they want to try to categorize everybody, like in the LGBTQ community, who refuses to adapt to an unhealthy society way of thinking, and they try to get them all grouped together. And trust me, I can only imagine that they're targeted via satellite. Okay, they like to group people together, and then they target them with mental stimulation via satellite. It's scary when you realize it, but it's true, and you got to acknowledge this. It happens today in our country all day long. Satanists bombarding the human race. What's being done about it? I wanted to mention one of the reasons outside of my personal identity, gender, and dealing, I would like to socialize with other people who are okay with that fact. And it's a lot healthier and better now for me everywhere because more of us have come out, so to speak. We're being, surrendering to our truth. Now, here's the thing, is I wanted to be close to really, really good attorneys because I need a team of attorneys for all reasons. But one of them is because of the things that I have endured throughout my life. Difficulties in getting lawyers, okay, has proven to be difficult. I have won yet again by the only team of lawyers that I know would take a case possibly if they deemed it that it was something that they feel that would be of, in their opinion, of benefit. Doesn't mean it would or would not. A good attorney, no matter what, would get, the suit through and you'd be well to do. One lawsuit by a company here in Dayton, Ohio, if they would have just honored what they told me they could possibly potentially get because of an automobile accident that I was in, I could have easily moved where I want to live and have finances available for myself to get my life together. Because of the lack of whether it was their ability, desire, influence, whatever the deal was, not a priority at all, I had to end up, in the end, finally came down to settling for a whole lot less than I was promised or told. How about not promised, but told that they could potentially get. Not even a fraction of it, 5%. Okay, this was pathetic. The worst ever in my history of dealing with lawyers. They had an attitude of, in this community, that they are more narrow-minded, I guess, because I'm a very look at my website and stuff like that. You'll find out I put pictures of myself naked online. I'm very I dress the way I want to dress, and I entertain the way I want to entertain. I talk. In other words, they consider this area to be more conservative. And can I tell you, it's all over America, but Dayton, Ohio is, I'm me no matter where I go, and nobody ever seemed to want to hurt me. I got into one situation when I was here in Ohio. The cops are nice to me. There's been one here driving around once in a while checking in on stuff. Can I tell you that I have had it pretty nicely with the attitudes of others. Listen, there's LGBTQ people all over the place, I don't look at Dayton as being a conservative area. I had a few problems, okay? But I had problems all over the United States. This was just that lawyer really speaking, he was speaking about himself. He's conservative. And because when we take an office position or a public position in like a law firm, where there is a lot of responsibility in a different way, he feels that most likely he has an obligation to maintain what is really, truly an unhealthy presentation. It's unhealthy because he's made the choices to live a very conservative life. He judges in a roundabout way that the whole area is like that. No, they're not. And that dominant conversation of people that would talk about that, like for instance, transsexual female that's very open, modeling, isn't afraid to share her body, isn't afraid to share simple conversation about the vibrant life that she appreciates, etc., etc. In other words, what most people like myself would already be out in Hollywood, entertaining in some form, whether it be an adult entertainment or it would be just other forms of entertainment. The truth of the matter is, somebody who's living a conservative lifestyle will always say that the area is loaded with conservatives. And the truth of the matter is, people who are free will say, I don't get it. Whenever I'm out in everyday life, people seem pretty free-minded to me. That lawyer is the one who had more of the problem than anyone else. Because the cops were always nice to me. The people that when I was playing busking on the street, they were always nice to me. See, and my problems were not my problem with society, is what I realized. I was being targeted and I was dealing with my own. So my own artificial intelligence on top of my frustrations and stress that I was dealing with, this is all me. Not everyone is bad and not everyone is out to get you. But the Satanists can actually target your thought process and manipulate you into a paranoia state that is true, that they are out to get you, etc. So I don't want to beat up this attorney too much, but again, I reached out because of the situation to do with Kroger's, which, by the way, I noticed about a few months ago that somebody adjusted the RTA sign up And I thought, what a pleasant surprise. They actually got onto it. They reversed the hanger for the sign, so it jolted it up quite a few inches. Most likely, when I walk under it, I will not hit my head. So tall people, such as 6 foot or so, should be safe in walking onto the sidewalk at Kroger's. But here's the thing. Kroger's never once picked up the phone to call or write me a letter and say, I'm sorry that this happened to you. In my opinion, shame on the management and shame on the Kroger's entity for not having a staff of people who really do genuinely care about their customers and are willing to go above and beyond, out of their way than the norm, and say, hey, we're sorry this happened. You know, technically, a good lawyer, and I have 2 papers here, they would not take the case. Kroger's, you know and I know it's a lawsuit that I should have won. All right? Somehow down the road, you owe me big time. I had to go to the chiropractor numerous times. I still am seeing the chiropractor for minor adjustments yet. Caused me pain, my time and energy going to the emergency room. It cost the taxpayers health insurance. You were at fault there. RTA was part of it. 50-50. Both of you companies owe the American people. You owe me an apology that was not given yet. And on top of it, we know if this would have been a real attorney and time in court, I would have won. The problem is the state of Ohio has what's called an open and obvious laws, which usually protect companies, corporations, entities, people of a wealthy status. Because they have money and they can go to court, number one. There needs to be another court system, really, in my opinion. And in this situation, if I wanted to make this a priority, in my opinion, a real judge would rule it in my favor. That open and obvious law needs to go away. It was to protect shit like this. You pull into this parking lot at a decent speed coming in off the street, at a mature speed. You could bang your head in your car when you hit that pothole. You could destroy things within your car. My car rattles and stuff. It didn't rattle when I first came here to Ohio. The road in front of my house is all torn up, okay, and it's really hard to see when pulling out of there. Do you think that they took care of that, the township, Harrison Township? This same Kroger situation happened in Harrison Township. No, they didn't. What are their excuses? They don't have enough finances, is that it? If they had mature leaders, seasoned leaders, that were skilled, the truth of the matter is they would come up with the means, and they would take care of the needs for the general public, like fixing the roads. And like that sign situation, it wouldn't be an open and obvious. It's open and obvious. It's Kroger's and RTA's fault. You know what I mean? It's open and it is obvious. A pedestrian should not be walking from, or a customer to your store, Kroger's, shouldn't be walking from their car in the parking lot, stepping up on the sidewalk and hitting their head on anything. I want an apology. You fixed a sign, thank you. I want an apology. And I'll probably never get it. Nobody wants to admit they were at fault. If it was my property, and I had this stuff happen because I'm an entertainer, I had stuff happen at my shows. And let me tell you something, even though it might not have been my fault, somebody tripped over something, wasn't even my establishment, I still made sure that they were all right. Are you okay? I even emailed them later days or called them and said, I wanted to make sure you're okay. Are you all right? I didn't get penalized for that. In fact, they came back to the show and they were amazed. Thank you for being so kind to my boyfriend, my husband, or what have you, It brought us closer together. Your ways of avoidance, what should have been done, which was a phone call to me by somebody in a higher rank of the store, period. In the store of the entire franchise of Kroger's, should have called me and said, we heard about what happened and we're sorry. And you should have somehow tried to offer kindness, generosity. I got another lawyer, note here, and it was the same thing. They didn't accept the case. And a large portion of it was, with the Kroger's specifically, was because the open and obvious law, which is bogus. It shouldn't be an open and obvious law. That gives too much allowance and acceptance to inappropriate of the way things are permitted to be. We need our cities to come up to a higher standard. Look, we were never without jobs. It's just that the leaders didn't know how to orchestrate humans into an interest. Because you don't force humans to work, you show them that they're interested, okay? And you look, we can't all be held accountable for this, but the truth of the matter is, as a brother and a sister, as an elder to others, as a student of somebody who read the Holy Bible, the truth of the matter is, what is best for all people is for them to read the Holy Bible and unify with others for emotional support. Surrendering to their honesty can be very, very, very complicated, especially when going about it alone. With that being said, you will find out that the true leaders of this country, of the world, people that would love to pave the roads, people who would love to paint lines, people who would love to drive dump truck and have their own dump truck, not work for a company or a corporation. They'd love to have their own truck and get contracts to remove some of these old abandoned buildings, excavators, you name it. People who would love to take care of the lawn here. Maybe somebody elderly, maybe somebody youthful that says, I love Ohio parks. I want a contract in cutting all the grass and taking care of the leaves and I love the river. I want to take care of it and keep it clean. I want to get a boat and get a contract to go down through and keep her cleaned out. And if I notice any paintings on the bridges, I want to see to it that it gets properly taken care of and discipline comes in order to the children in an appropriate way that says, look, we can apply your skills somewhere else, but you don't want to be putting it into the public domain this way. You know, there's other ways to get your work noticed, and you're dealing with more emotionally. And the truth of the matter is, you need to be shown love. In other words, there needs to be another entire workforce almost, a life force, that is available and can be a part of orchestrating people into their desires. The true architects, the true leaders of every area in life, even people to hang lights up, to decorate for the holidays, to organize and orchestrate events within the city, would be more in alignment with the truth, period. City planners, you name it. When this once used to be an automotive industry and had all kinds of things going on, all kinds of inventions and stuff, okay? What ended up happening, seriously, is Satanists started getting hold of humanity in a manner that brought into a separation and a lowly position in life for all of us. And then years pass by and we're like wondering, why isn't things happening different? Why am I living during the decades that everything is falling apart and it's abandoned, okay? Why are there so many abandoned buildings? Why do I am somebody in Huber Heights who lived in a house, had 2 weeds that were by the mailbox, got a letter from the township of Huber Heights that if the weeds were not taken care of, then we would be fined for 2 weeds. Do you think that Satanists didn't like us? Do you realize that what Satanists would do in a situation like that is they will make you think that the neighborhood doesn't like LGBTQ people living in the neighborhood. It's not the people. Satanists will look for any signs of life. People who live freely in the Spirit of Christ, especially. You are a target. They don't want churches to erect. They don't want speakers to speak life. They don't want worship leaders to lead the Spirit into a worship, lifting the Spirit. They don't want people cheering each other on. They want a completely dead society, folks. Be aware that this is true. Read the Bible, I encourage you, and learn that it is true. And what was going on in biblical times are still now times that it's going on. Satanists do not change. Their behavior doesn't change. And the root of all evil, they say, and it's written in the Bible, is money. Okay? More fools fall for the fact that money is power. Money is power. What we all want is the freedom to fulfill our heart's desires. And it's very unfortunately that a money system has been created. Now, in order to get anything in most situations, not in all, in most situations, money, that's it. You have money, Most things in the spirit of Jesus Christ, I would say, most things would be acceptable. I go in, I get what I want, I'm not hurting anybody, I bought this property, I'm building my home. Satanists will attack. That's just like when with water systems in neighborhoods. They induce means that they can control and manipulate as many as the masses as possible in every area of life. And I'm here to tell you that everything of the earth is entitled to those who are alive today. And we should not be withheld. We need true leaders that can formulate a way of life that says, I don't need to pay for food to eat to stay alive. Food should be free. So should drinks. So should places to live. An automobile. We're in this motion of life where we are. And all the resources that are being used, rest assured, if you trip it backwards and you find out where it all started, the originality of it, the core of where it came from, those people did not pay a damn thing. They just used the resources of the land and manipulated it into what it has become today. Lawyers, good lawyer. Here's what I've come to in conclusion. I mentioned that in this my note that the government in itself should be sued for forcing and enforcing and being supportive and neglecting taking care of or the caring of life slavery, forcing us to go to the school rather than being educated and knowing what it is that we need to do in our time of need. We really should be given entitlements because we're alive today. Okay, God brought us to be in this life form. Okay, in health benefits, I already talked about that. In closing, I am excited that I have shared my entire life journey and details thereof since October 19th, 1972. And even in the fact, before then, that my mother didn't even want me, another child. Not me, she didn't want another child. Okay? I came anyway. My passion has always been music. I was born into a worshiping family. They all led worship. Okay? My desires never changed. My true desires, they don't ever change. Your true desires, they never change. Most of people's pain and suffering comes from not honoring thyself. And it is challenging because we live in a world that has produced challenges. If we want to honor ourselves, then we have to make a sacrifice. God doesn't say that. God says that God endured and went through these things. We too will go through things. God was king. Okay, so it is true. It is stated in the Bible. The truth of the matter is, it does not. Listen, there are ways to go about life in a manner that is more justified for the life in the present moment. The things I talk about with healthcare, with food. I go to food pantries, and I'm very grateful they're there. They're usually the ones who get the trickling down of the rest of America. Okay? Food that is about ready to expire or is expired. In a lot of cases, not all, a lot of cases, it's very unhealthy food. It's not the most natural resource. Okay? But it is food, and it does help us to stay alive, but here's the thing, it also contributes to a lot of other things. With that being said, I'm convinced that stores should be erected and real fresh food in general should be stored in these places. And people should be verified that when they're hungry, they go to the store at their convenience. The food is theirs. Okay? I'm here to tell you that with the means that I have been provided with, it's not enough for realistic. It's in the ballpark, but it is not realistic. And it is not just to mentally abuse the masses of America who are dependent on some means. Okay? I should not have any problem going over here to Kroger's and buying groceries whenever I'm hungry. I don't eat that much, and it is very challenging with the budget the government permits people to have. Permits me? Do I need to come into Congress in D.C. and slam the Bible down in front of all the faces of the leaders within the chairs? Don't be asinine. We really need a realistic means to be able to go into the local grocery stores and get the food that we need to eat. Somebody like me eats I didn't even eat today yet. I had 2 coffees, that's it. I don't eat that much. But yet I can't afford to go to Kroger's, so I go down to Walmart. Okay? Which is about 5-8 miles away from where I live one way. It's very unfortunate that the area I live in was evidently something at one time, and it is the neighborhood it is today. But it's not the wealth that used to be there at one time, is what I'm saying. So evidently I'm looking at a beautiful city called Dayton. There was people with heart, there was money pumping here, there was life pumping here, there was probably escorts pumping here, and they were all generating a beautiful life for themselves, had nice cars, they got to go to get the food they want, they dressed in nice clothing, they had fun outings at parks and whatever they did, entertainment, okay? And the truth of the matter is, when the auto industry and things like that had happened, don't believe that it was not a government shakedown. It was a shakedown by Satanists, because they're trying to lead people into a death, into a grave, rather than to keep a vibrant life that once was erected or to be in the presentation of. Don't ever think that there is not an agenda for things like the wall. All right? They can find reasons to justify to you why it's there. When you start hearing stories of people being electronically harassed, don't you dare think that they don't want to put a wall up on either end of the country and then make this a big cage that people literally don't have nowhere to run when they mentally torture the crap out of the human race. Okay? Think again if you want a wall separating you from the potential possibility that you and your family and friends need to run the hell out of America because shit is about ready to happen. I don't know what the answers are, but I'm sure lots of people do. I'm excited because I have closure all the way up to 2018. I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. Minor little specks of things will come up once in a while. I am not anti-government. I am not anti-government. It's just that I know I'm part of the government because Christ is in me. And I'm for the government of God. Okay? And God is all things. So that means that you are government. I am government. We're all government. And I'm not against it. God does appoint the government. That is life. For life. But satanic kingdom of hell is real too. Okay? And the truth of the matter is, we can't be distracted from knowing that there are very dark forces that does not want any sign of life, and then there's life who wants to gracefully live, blossom, flourish, be free. And it needs the most nutrients, healthy nutrients, from within the earth. And not only that, it loves to love. Don't let fear keep you from hugging someone, kissing somebody on the cheek, shaking their hand. Satanists don't want that in anything, okay? They say about keeping God out of schools, and I'm here to tell you it's impractical. It's not real. You can't keep God out of schools. And by law, there should be what? Whenever a kid needs to pray and wants to be in private, or it wants to commune with other people about the Holy Bible, it should be permitted in every school. God first. Not a falsehood of education that isn't going to help somebody when there are times of homelessness because the government didn't supply a, here's your entitlement, this is what you do when you have an emergency situation. Okay? Meanwhile, we're learning about what happened in the 1800s or what happened years ago. How about what's happening now? Did you ever see that television show years ago? What's happening? What's happening now? Okay, what's happening now? Anyway, here we go. I'm going to show you this one more time. I like this area, and I think I'm going to do one of my videos here. I do not have a personal problem with anyone because the Satanists want you fighting with physical people. It's not the people you want to fight. It's the acknowledgement that there are dark forces in the world, very dark, and they don't like humanity at all. They don't like themselves. They're in torment for eternity. This is real. Nothing fake about it. We need to start standing up more for the rights of our lives and the lives that we desire. And if you're out there and you're escorting, you're a stripper, you're an adult entertainer of some sort, you need emotional support of people who are okay with what it is that you do. And understand that Satanists don't just come to you in a physical form. They play psychological games by calling you on the phone, making jingled sounds or bells and stuff to try to put you in a trance. They try to lead you into a form of BDSM, which leads into a form of Satanism, okay? Sadism, okay? Which leads into brutality of either self-slaughteration or you being slaughtered by other people in dark places. There are people who are beastly-like that literally feed off the humans. Okay? It brings them joy. Acknowledge that this is real. And it doesn't have to be for you. It doesn't mean you have to stop living life and being happy. Chances are there are other things you want to do in this life. But the bottom line is it's not prostitution. And it's time that people start acknowledging this. We're all prostitutes at times. Whenever we go against our own hearts, we are a prostitute. When we do something that's not for the right reason within ourselves, not in alignment with other people, which would be in alignment with Jesus Christ in the Holy Bible. I'm looking forward to moving on. When I'm done uploading this video, know that the most exciting time in my life is about to happen. Songs that I wrote in 2010, right about this time of year, I'm finally sitting down in a recording studio where I'm safe. I have food. I don't have some psychopath telling me I have to move. Okay? I have the instruments. I have the support necessary for me to move forward in life. I have a good psychologist. I have great healthcare doctors. I just hugged and kissed one the other day. We finally cleared up a matter that we have been working with for quite a few years. Okay? I am a completely unique person from what I was 10 years ago when I came out here. I'm finally starting to get into a healing place that I can truly be genuinely grateful and thankful because I am safe and because now I'm living life the way I desire instead of the way I'm being manipulated to by dark forces. We need to support each other in the life realms. We're all under attack. It's not just one or two people. It's not just several people within our community. Satanists have come up with a way somehow they attack everybody. And they seek to destroy. And the closer that you get, like when people start getting closer to what they call the grave, health, lonely problems, they're getting elderly now. That's when Satanists like to come. They want to make sure that you know in this lifetime, before you transition on, that they were always watching you. And through your own eyes, they know everything. Your bank account numbers, everything is calculated, folks. You don't have to believe it. It's real. Your prized possessions, whatever they are, your creations, if you're a songwriter or anything, you have valuables, a property, a house, okay? The bottom line is you want to see to it that your possessions and everything get handed to people that you know would appreciate it for their life. Okay? And maybe honor something within it that you have a request for. The only thing I can look back for are my grandparents. My grandparent had his own business, and he worked hard his whole life on it. Now, nobody wanted to take over that business. And in my heart, I tell you, I didn't want his business, but I wanted to be like him. With that being said, nobody wanted the business, sold everything off. Another company took all the contracts. The money was dispersed amongst the children, and of course, however that came about, it came about. With my other grandparents, I know that my mother would have loved to have the house. Whatever happened before her brother transitioned on, things came about, and now the house is owned by somebody else. It could have been my mother's house for her life. That house property could have been transferred over to someone else that may have wanted it, that she knew would have cared for her. My grandfather's business, same thing, or the property that he had could have been given to like my sister, or people that would have taken care of the property and honored whatever it is, reasonably that he would have desired through it. Now, what that is, most people want to be free to live their own life, and in a situation where they receive a blessing from somebody else who transitions on, they don't really want to have too much responsibility for a person that's no longer in a physical form here, but in the truth of it, wants to honor their own heart's desires. And maybe in the process of that, honoring something within the agreement of the person who transitions on their desires. For instance, with my songs, years from now, all my copyrights. Okay. I don't know if my son, the only son that I may have, or another family member, or a friend, or an organization, or I don't believe in giving it to the state. I'm more for something that touches my life in the years to come, giving the entitlement and the ownership of like my copyrights. Also, any property that I may accumulate, my possessions myself, because my life's not over yet. My life is just beginning. But in the years to come, you want to offer your possessions to someone that you feel will benefit greatly. And it's only temporarily anyway, because they're going to fulfill their heart's desires, hopefully. And they will be kind of like the overseer of the possessions that you leave with them. With that being said, I may have a small request in doing so. I would like to see that would be fulfilled, but I also understand that they have their own heart's desires to be fulfilled, and more so than not, Satanists keep attacking the brains of people and trying to get them to let go. They want to destroy everything. They don't want, for instance, family members to offer any possessions whatsoever, anything. Nothing. Love, anything. They don't want them to offer it over to other people in their family in the times like my grandfather had moved on, or great-grandparents move on. I'm talking about just saying people who mature, they live to be hundreds of years, 100 years old, 125 years old. And the time comes, inevitably, that they're ready to transition into whatever they're going to transition into, and they're leaving their possessions with someone. Okay, the truth of the matter is, Satanists don't want that, because it gives the other party a form of life that they do not want people to receive. So long as one has in their possession the means to be able to survive and thrive, they can be doing workforce for the Spirit of Christ, life, reasons and causes for life, as to where when they cripple a society by seeing to it that they can eat just healthy, or they have a safe housing or comfortable housing or realistic housing, the equipment that people need in order to, the tools, not of the trade, tools that are necessary to do what it is that they do in benefit of life, they're becoming more victorious when that happens than for the kingdom of life. So always keep that in mind as you have children, as your creator. There are people in this world that would really honor your wishes or your desires, and also would contribute life on earth, that aren't chicken shit and aren't selfish, really, despite what other people would believe, because Satanists try to make them think that. I think that all the time. If I'd find 5, 10 people, not to work like me, 10 people that say, I know Satanists are real and I ain't letting them stop me for life. God is my provider, God is my protector, and the will that is within myself is going to be fulfilled, not the will of a dark kingdom of people. Things would happen. And I prove it all the time, because I've learned that as I go through life and as I do things that I do alone, it gets done. But I have not yet figured out how to build up the faith in others to share in the joy of life. So we'll learn as we go. I'm still working on my project. The good news is all of this is over with now. Hooray. Finally. And Tracilyn hopes to provide updates now. I want to move to a new location. Well, look, it could take 2 years is the way I figured it, maybe up to 5 years. A lot of it depends on a lot. But I'm still working on my project. I'm still working on healing. I still go to my therapist appointments. So I'm dealing with what they call mental health. And I'm dealing with, I'm hoping to join a gym and become more social this year, 2019. I'm hoping to go see some good local bands in the area and continue to record my music and share with you updates of where I'm at. This year I'm hoping that, if not within the next 2 years, I should say, I'm hoping that I can go down to Tennessee and share with you some things that happened there, as well as the situation that happened with me and that Stephen C. guy while down in Nashville, the place that I met him, and raise awareness how Satanists actually hone in and use songwriters as resources in commercial mainstream. They're users of people. Okay. And it's happened to me, and I know it happens to a lot of people. And also I'm looking forward to making a few music videos over the next couple of years. So, and I'm going to continue on. A lot going on. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be through talking about this other case. Things that happened within my life since 1972 to the end of 2018. It's a new chapter for me. Ragtop Cadillac coming along well. Miss Las Vegas album. I got an album of covers that I plan on working on in years to come. The Tennessee trip. And also, I want to go back to the beginning of time, though, for me. And I actually want to deal with things on my behalf. The school system. The psychological system. The mental health. The government. Crucial points in my life where I realize that at any given time I could have been educated properly. More could be done in support of life. I would not have had to endure the things that I endured. It's a miracle that I'm alive today, whether you believe it or not. That's how in tune I am with Satanists targeting me. Okay? It was really increased when I was an escort. To people in adult entertainment, it's magnified. See, we're all targeted. It's just that it's magnified when you get into a field like that of adult entertainment, or if you end up in a lonely place, a very difficult, challenging place where you feel like you're outcasted. Chances are Satanists are honing in on you. Okay, because that's where they want, and that's when they become more magnified. when you start having a life that's more lonely, secluded from everything. Stay connected, emotionally connected, with people that don't feel that you owe anybody anything. You owe it to yourself. Be connected to people, and you want the dominant passions to be a big part of it. And in my opinion, I would just simply acknowledge that Satanists like to try to put you in a position where you just give your whole life away. Be careful of that. Your life is not meant to give away. You give your life to Christ, and Christ will show you that you're worthy of a beautiful life with plenty of money, a beautiful home, all right, and fulfillment of your heart's desires, and love and acceptance of people who would appreciate and embrace you. All right? Don't look to Tracilyn, look to Jesus, who's already inside of you, whether you believe it or not. The Holy Spirit of life already exists inside of all living things. And once we acknowledge that this is true, instantly our life can start to become much, much more healthier. Love you. Feels good to let it out. If it offends anyone, my messages, know that God is doing something inside of you. I'm not the one who you're upset with. It's something that you're dealing with inside. I hear people, and I hear them. And I either just turn it off, or I sit there in amazement because I get where they're at or what they're talking about. Dealing with my own issues has helped me to see things a lot differently in a lot of other people's lives. I love people much differently because I chose to love myself. It's important. Love yourself first. Put yourself first all the time. Don't ever listen to somebody say, get your mind off yourself. Keep your mind on yourself. And then you'll be able to love other people much nicer. Okay? Always you first. If you didn't hear me say it before, Merry Christmas, and may your 2019 year be the best year of your life yet. Bye.